Welcome back to the Piping Pastor. Well, I'd like to begin, first of all, by welcoming some of the new subscribers. I've seen a few people subscribe over the last week, and I'm very happy you've joined the channel. I'm always incredibly humbled by the fact that people would like to just sit and listen to me ramble, so thank you very much for that. And secondly, today I'm smoking in my, what I call my Bilbo pipe, which is my very long Meerschaum Churchwarden. And in it, I'm smoking some Capstan Navy Cut. I don't smoke this pipe very often because of a couple of reasons. Firstly, it is rather difficult to clean. It takes a minute. And additionally, even though I did some work on it after I purchased it, the draft hole is still really rather narrow. And as such, a lot of different types of tobacco just don't work in this unless they're shredded up. So ribbon cut, shag cut works fine in this. Flakes, not so much, because I'm a stuff and fold guy with the flakes and the coins, and they don't work so well in this one. But it is a great pipe for smoking Virginias. So in here today, I have some ready rubbed Capstan Navy Cut. I think it's just a beautifully carved pipe as well. So it's a lot of block Meerschaum, which of course is my favorite pipe making material. I just think Meerschaum burns really, really well. So, in any case, so I've been getting caught up on videos because obviously I've been gone for about a month, and I've been watching a few of my brother over there in the UK, 13 Pipes, and if you're not subscribed to his channel, you really should check him out. He's a very well-read gentleman, great command of languages, ancient languages, and so the discussions around the biblical text and language and so forth is always very good with him. He and I usually comment on each other's videos back and forth quite a bit, and I really appreciate his opinions. So give him a go if you have not already subscribed to him. But he was doing some video responses to another presenter and discussing the idea of truth. And of course, it's my view that truth is an ontological reality, is the ultimate truth, knowledge, and so forth, gaining on the way there. We deal with the penultimate truths here on the earth, the measurable aspects of reality, science, and so forth. But it brought up some very interesting discussions, I think, about what truth is and the depiction of reality. And as it happens, some of the stuff I've been reading recently spoke to that. When I was, in the desert for a month, I brought as a fun book to read, my pleasure reading, The Seven Pillars of Wisdom by T.E. Lawrence, which is, of course, is the journal essentially that he wrote about the Arabic Revolution against the Ottoman Empire. And the journal was turned into a novel, of course, and the novel turned into a movie. And I read the book when I was out, and when I came back, I was like, I've never seen the movie, the 1962 version with Peter O'Toole as T.E. Lawrence. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to check this out. It's supposed to be a great movie, a sweeping epic with beautiful cinematography and so forth. And I came into it with realistic expectations. I know when you translate from a book to a film, you're dealing in different mediums. You can't get everything in there. Tom Bombadil, of course, being the great example from Tolkien. But I was more disappointed than I thought I was going to be. There is the typical thing when you deal with a large novel such as The Seven Pillars, going into a film where you have to, combine characters, right? This person have these different spots, but let's put it all into one person, right? And get the message across, those kind of things. Shortening up timelines, descriptions, because T.E. Lawrence was a great writer, very descriptive, especially about landscapes and so forth. But a lot of that stuff I think you could skip through without really missing much plot-wise. What I didn't care for, gotta check my mic there, what I didn't care for was the way a couple of characters were depicted in particular. First, the guide on the way to Faisal's camp, who I think in the film is not even named. and then Faisal himself. And the guide was depicted as this kind of ignorant, comical side character fawning after the Englishman. And that's not how T.E. Lawrence recorded him. T.E. Lawrence recorded him as nearly disdainful of the English and what he perceived as their weakness in the desert. And he was very taciturn and spoke little during the entire journey and asked nothing of T.E. Lawrence, but only offered guidance and protection. A very strong character depicted as a very weak character in comparison to the English person. And then when he arrives at Faisal's camp, Faisal, in reality, in T.E. Lawrence's writings and indeed other historical documents, is depicted also as, in the book anyway, is depicted as a strong, charismatic, intelligent person who worked 18, 20 hours a day, held meetings, held court, was a judge, very wise, a brilliant military tactician, but not above taking the advice of others, but a strong, forceful character. In point of fact, T.E. Lawrence points out the fact that he had surveyed several different leaders in the Arab community, emirs and sharifs and so forth, and throughout all these, he found these character flaws here and there about weakness or avarice and so forth. But then when he meets Faisal, his eyes are open to this warrior king, essentially, this wonderful, wonderful character. And in the film, Faisal is seen as this kind of droopy-eyed, like, oh, yes, yes, I know you speak the truth. I will do as you advise. And he's speaking to this English military advisor, who also was not depicted in the book correctly. But anyway, again, essentially being depicted as some kind of servile leader of an ignorant people, right? And you could, I guess, try to say, well, that's a cultural understanding. It's the early 60s, right? So, of course, these characters are going to be depicted as dependent upon, the saving, brilliant English people, so forth. But that's not how T.E. Lawrence wrote about them. And T.E. Lawrence was far earlier than the 1960s. So it just goes to show how quote unquote truth or the presentation of truth can be tainted and changed, and how our perceptions of reality can be morphed based on the opinion of a director or a producer, or indeed just a period of time. Which then put me in mind of a poem by Masefield. So this one is called We Danced. Pardon me while I set aside my massive pipe here, which I will come back to shortly. We danced away care till the fiddler's eyes blinked, and at supper at midnight our wine glasses chinked. Then we danced till the roses that hung round the wall were broken red petals that did rise and fall. To the ever-turning couples, to the bright-eyed and gay, singing the midnight to dance care away. And the dancing died out, and the carriages came, and the beauties took their cloaks, and the men did the same. And the wheels crunched the gravel, and the lights were turned down, and the tired beauties dozed in the cold drive to town. Nan was the belle, and she married her beau, who drank and then beat her, and she died long ago. And Mary, her sister, is married and gone to the tea planter's lodge in the plains in Ceylon. And Dorothy's sons have been killed out in France, and Mary lost her man in the August advance. And the man jilted, and she lives all alone in the house of this dance, which seems burnt in my bone. Margaret and Susan and Marian and Phyllis, with red lips laughing in the beauty of lilies, and the grace of wild swans, and the wonder of bright hair, dancing among roses with petals in the air. All are gone, and Hetty's little maid is so like her mother that it makes me afraid. And Rosalind's son, whom I passed in the street, clinked on the pavement with the spurs on his feet. It's a wonderful depiction of how we can understand reality to exist in a certain way and happy times and so on and so forth, but then there's something after. There's the day after, the happily ever after. when the reality and the actual truth sets in. In days of social media and Instagram and so on and so forth, everyone looks like they're always having such a good time. And yeah, maybe in those in particular photos they are, but even in those photos, you can detect sometimes an air of sadness. As they're raising their glasses and laughing out loud, there's something behind their eyes that depicts something of darkness, depression, doubt, insecurity. But none of that ever gets posted, right? The Bible says in Matthew 6 that we are to seek God first and God's righteousness. I spoke about this in my last video. It was the theme of my work out in the desert recently. And we should seek ontological truth and reality at a deeper level, right? But that can be challenging, especially when we're dealing with stuff like that, right? When we're dealing with we have to dance and seem happy and gay and so forth, and everything's fine and everything's all right, even when in reality it may not be. And that's when we need the courage. That's Joshua 1:9. Be strong and courageous. And don't be strong and courageous by yourselves. Just be strong and courageous, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. We're never called to be strong and courageous on our own. We are called to be strong and courageous in community with each other and with God. And then no matter what the truth is, the penultimate truths, that we see on Instagram, the penultimate truths we see at dances like that, the penultimate truths we see depicted in films, or when we're finally confronted with the ultimate truths from God, we can stand there and be courageous because we don't stand alone. Well, that is it for this time. Again, welcome to all those of you who have joined recently. I'm now going to turn my attention back to my massive pipe and my Virginia tobacco. Hope you have a lovely week. As always, happy reading.